Welcome to the midweek mini episode. This is the Empire State Sports Report. I'm your host, Adriana, also known as New York Giants fangirl across social media. The podcast is brought to you by Believe Network and FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook is your number one place to make all of your sports bets. So download the app today and make sure to always bet responsibly. So today, guys, we're going to cover off on some Giants injury updates. We are going to talk about waiver wire targets for week 12 and my week 12 picks. So let's get right into it. So starting with injury updates, we have some good news with Jaxson Dart. So he was back on the field today and he was doing non-contact work. Now, he is the quarterback, so he is never being contacted in practice, but Mike Kafka said that he is going through concussion protocol and he's cleared the stage where he's allowed to be back at this type of practice, and it's looking good for him on Sunday. So we are probably going to see Jaxson Dart on Sunday against the Lions. And I know there's some feedback from that around fans. I've heard some fans say that he should just sit out for the rest of the season. I've heard some say that they should just wait one more week until, we're past the Lions game and whatnot. And I agree with the latter people. I think that it was a serious concussion. Obviously, our medical staff is very conservative. So if he's not ready, he's not playing. If he has any type of setback, he's not playing. But I just feel like I know they're not going to rush him out there, but I'm like, just sit him for 1 week. Like, give us the Jameis experience one more time. The reality is the Lions are a really good football team and they're really, really good at running the ball, and they're probably going to whoop our ass. So I'd like to see one more week of Jameis just for fun. At this point in the season, why not? And I do think they have to play Jaxson Dart for the rest of the season. I think, if he can't play in the Lions game, it's not a big deal, but he is a rookie quarterback. You cannot replicate live reps, and he needs to be able to continue to improve throughout the rest of the season. And keep in mind, we have not seen Jaxson Dart since Brian Daboll got fired. So that's another thing that we need to really watch for the rest of the year is, does he continue to improve week after week with Brian Daboll gone? Does he look like he's regressing? Are there any issues there? So I know, some people are like, just save him so he doesn't get hurt. And I agree with you. Obviously, you don't want him to get hurt, but the reality is he's a rookie quarterback who needs live reps, and he's going to have to take them. So we'll see what ends up happening, but it is looking good for him on Sunday. Some other injury updates: Paulson Adebo, Thomas Fajoni, Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, Cordell Flott, Rico Payton, Darius Slayton, and Kayvon Thibodeau all did not practice on Wednesday, which usually if you don't practice on Wednesday, it's not always looking good. So out of that group, couple things to know. Demetrius Flanagan-Foles and Rico Payton both had illnesses. Obviously not specified. Could have been a stomach virus, could be a cold. No one knows. But usually with an illness, I think those two will be fine for Sunday. The good news is that Rico Payton is another cornerback, and as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather see him take every single snap as long as it means I don't have to see Tay Banks on the field. Don't care how good he is. Don't care how bad he is. Spare me the Tay Banks experience. 2.5 years is more than enough. Give me Rico Payton or literally anyone else. It's fine by me. One other thing to note here is that Cordell Flott had a personal situation. So that's the reason why he didn't practice. It's not injury related. He should be back at it tomorrow with no issues there. So that's good news because we need, Cordell Flott on Sunday. The next group of guys who were limited were Deonte Banks, who's dealing with a hip injury, Jaxson Dart, obviously concussion, Chauncey Golston, neck, Tyler Nubin, neck, Nacho, toe. Now, I want to call out those last three guys, Chauncey Golston, Tyler Nubin, and Nacho, because all three of them did not play last week. And I know that so many are down on Tyler Nubin, and he has absolutely had a tough year, but I think he's better than what we had out there last week. So I will take Nubin being back. I think that's a good thing. Also, like some of these other young guys, you can't replicate the live reps. He needs to keep playing. Hopefully he will get better. I don't know. Maybe it won't happen under Shane Bowen. Maybe if Bowen gets fired next week, I don't know. We see something better out of Nubin. I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be till next year. But either way, the reps are important for all of these guys. Chauncey Golston and Nacho also being back could be a good thing. Now, we haven't really seen a lot of Chauncey Golston. He's dealt with injuries for a majority of the year, but I'd probably rather see him out there than Tomon Fox. So, hope that he's healthy and good to go. And Nacho is good against the run. So if we have any chance of slowing down Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, it's because Nacho is in the lineup. So let's all hope that he's good to go. But again, those three being limited is really big this week because they all did not practice last Wednesday. So, the last thing, obviously, out of those guys, Adebo, Slayton, and Thibodeau, all who did not practice, is unfortunate on both sides of the ball, but it means that we're going to see more Abdul Carter, which I think is a good thing. Obviously not having Paulson Adebo is not a good thing. And next up is Slayton. So at least we have Isaiah Hutchins. I'm really curious to see what they do on Saturday with the practice squad elevations, because I just wonder, how much Jalen Hyatt we're going to see this week. And I think if they elevate another wide receiver, maybe it means that we will see less Jalen Hyatt. I don't know. Will be interesting though. The last player I want to talk about is Eric Gray, who many of you might have even forgotten was on this football team because he was on IR this entire time until now. They opened the 21-day window and he was a full participant in practice today. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with him, because they've gone quite a few games now with only 2 running backs on the game day roster. And that's both been under Dable and under Kafka so far. So I'm curious what they do with Eric Gray. Obviously, Singletary was used quite a bit last week, obviously had 2 touchdowns. So, I know so many of us have been wanting to see Turbo, myself included. It's been very disappointing that we have not seen him. That's been a huge bummer. And now with Eric Gray back, honestly, I feel even worse that we're probably not going to see Turbo. So that's definitely a bummer, but you never know. We'll see what happens again with the practice squad elevation. So that's it for the injury updates. We'll continue to watch it. When I do the podcast on Friday, I'll give you guys more of an update with the injury report, and we'll go from there and we'll preview Giants Lions. But first, let's go through the week 12 picks. Because Thursday Night Football, we have Bills versus the Texans. The Texans defense actually did a relatively good job last week, but I'm taking the Bills. The Bills have been a very interesting team this year. They were pretty dominant in the beginning of the year, and then they've been hit or miss. And then last week, they absolutely not demolished, but they played really well against a very good Bucs team. So obviously, I'm taking the Bills here, but could be a close one, maybe. Next up on Sunday at 1 p.m., we have the Colts at the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are 5-5, baby. They are barely in the playoff hunt, and I love it. I love it. You know what would be amazing is to watch the playoffs without the Chiefs in it. Honestly, what could be better? I don't know, but I'm taking Danny Dimes and the Colts. They are coming off a bye. Sauce Gardner is going to be in week 2. He had a whole bye week. I think he's going to go off this weekend. And you have Travarius Ward. And Patrick Mahomes has been really bad on the deep ball. And I think that's going to be a good opportunity for the Colts corners to take advantage of that. Sauce Gardner, I'm looking at you. So we'll love to see an interception from one of those two. I'm taking the Colts. Next up, we've got the Seahawks at Titans. This is a no-brainer. We're taking the Seahawks. Sam Darnold is going to bounce back from his 4 interception game last week. He was seeing ghosts, which is a little concerning, but the Titans are not good, so they're going to rebound. No doubt there. Next up, we've got the Vikings at the Packers. And, I haven't really watched a lot of Vikings games, so I'm not going to talk shit about JJ McCarthy. But what I am going to say is that can we all are we over this whole narrative that the Giants should have taken JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix, who just tore his ACL again and is out for the rest of the season? And, while I like those quarterbacks, I don't love any of them. And to be honest, I didn't love the Jaxson Dart pick at the time, but can't be right about everything, right? And he's done a relatively good job. I just think that maybe everyone can lay off that narrative. You want to hate on Joe Shane? By all means. You got a full scroll of reasons to hate on him. I think we can take the JJ McCarthy one, cross it off the list. Next up, I'm taking Jordan Love and the Packers here, no doubt. Next up, we've got the Jets at Ravens. I think the Jets might put up a little bit of a fight here. They actually have been playing better than I expected after they sold off some of their best players. But it's the Ravens we're talking about. They're fighting to get into the playoffs, and they're obviously a better team than the Jets. Lamar Jackson did not practice today, but he could be ready to go on Sunday. And I just think whether or not they have Lamar Jackson, obviously he takes them to the next level. But if they don't have him, I think they're going to be fine. Next up, we've got the Steelers at Bears. Speaking of quarterback injuries, Aaron Rodgers is dealing with a fractured hand. I have seen so many hilarious TikToks about this because it's just Aaron Rodgers is going to be like, I have to own the Bears even while I'm on the Steelers. So I think he's going to do whatever he can to try and be back on Sunday. Obviously, it's not completely up to him. It's up to the medical staff to clear him too. But I think either way, if Aaron No, I'm taking the Bears. I'm taking the Bears whether or not Aaron Rodgers plays because they just got, who did they get back from injury? Someone is coming back from IR, which I think is going to help them. And I just think the Bears have some really good momentum right now. And I'd like to see them win. Why not? Next up, we've got the Pats at Bengals. I mean, this is a no-brainer, taking the Patriots here as much as I would like to see the Bengals beat them because we play them in just a couple short weeks. I don't think it's going to happen. So Pats and Mike Vrabel. Oh, God. Never forgive the Giants for not hiring him until we actually bring a legitimate real head coach in here, which might not be in 2026, but we'll talk about that later. Next up, we've got the Browns at Raiders. This is going to be a bottom of the barrel game. I am taking the Browns here because Myles Garrett is absolutely going to destroy that offensive line. And, Myles Garrett is leading the NFL with 15 sacks. Brian Burns is right behind him at 13. But I just am like, I just feel like some of the matchups are kind of unfair. And it is what it is. Obviously, like shit happens. We have the hardest schedule, whatever. But I'm just like, if Brian Burns played the Jets, who have a bad offensive line, if he played the Raiders, like if he played some of the teams that the Browns were playing, the Bengals, I'm like, Brian Burns would also have 15 sacks, maybe even 20 at this rate. So anyway, I am taking the over on whatever the sacks is for Myles Garrett, because I'll tell you what, it's going to be a lot more than one, and it's probably going to be more than three. I don't know if you guys watched the Raiders game last week, but I have watched quite a few film breakdowns of just that offensive line that is coached by Pete Carroll's son. And oh my God, it is atrocious. Which, by the way, Carmen Brasillo used to be their offensive line coach, and they were a good offensive line. So the Giants, if there's one thing they also need to do this offseason, give Carmen Brasillo a shitload of money and a long-term contract immediately. Next up, Jags at Cards. I'm going with the Jags here. Obviously, Kyler Murray is out. I don't think Kyler Murray is a great quarterback. I think Jacoby Brissett has been better, but overall, I just think this Cardinals team is not very good. And I think the Jags are kind of riding on some decent wins as of late. So I'm going with the Jags here. Also, I'm rooting for them because I think the more they win, it's better for the Chiefs. It'll help the Chiefs not get into the playoffs. So let's go, Trevor Lawrence. Next up, we've got the Eagles at the Cowboys. I have to root for the Cowboys here. I mean, because the Cowboys still suck. But I'm so sick of the Eagles winning every week. And look, the Cowboys beat the Raiders. They're not like a good football team, but I think they're coming off a really big game for them. They benched George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb for the first drive. Someone else has accountability in their building. What a crazy concept. And then they both came out and scored touchdowns, and the two of them combined for 300 yards. So they had a good game. Dak usually has a good game. I'm rooting for the Cowboys here because I have no faith in them in the playoffs. So like, even if they magically make it to the playoffs, they're not going to get anywhere. And I just need someone else in the NFC East. Like, can you help us out, please? And beat the Eagles. So let's go, Dak. Next up, we've got the Falcons at Saints. The Falcons are playing Kirk Cousins now with Michael Penix out. And while I think the Falcons have good pieces on offense, Kirk Cousins does not look like himself. The Falcons also have a relatively good defense, but I think this could be an upset this week. Like, would it be crazy to take the Saints here? I don't know. Tyler Shock is doing a decent job. I'm taking the Saints. They're probably not going to win, but I'm doing it. Whatever. Next up, we've got the Bucks at Rams. This is going to be a hell of a night game. It's the Sunday night game. It's going to be damn good. I'm excited to watch this. Baker Mayfield is so fun to watch. And as much as I like Josh Allen and I like the Bills too, that game last week was fantastic. And that I feel like is a really good preview of what the playoffs are going to be like. And I think the same things goes for the Bucks versus the Rams. I want the Bucks to bounce back and win. I like Matt Stafford. I like the Rams. I like Sean McVay. Chris Shula, who is the defensive coordinator for the Rams, is the big hot name for the next head coach opportunity. And there's talk of him interviewing for the Giants, which, I like. So anyway, I would like to see their defense do well because I think it could be good news for us in the future. But I'm also like, I just want to see Baker Mayfield like go off and be a beast. He's just fun to watch. But the Rams obviously are studs. But here's what I'm going to say about the Rams. The fact that they got 4 interceptions last week and only beat the Seahawks by 2 points, and it came down to a last minute field goal, which the kicker, I don't know what happened there, but total mess. I don't know. I think the Bucks could beat them. I'm going Bucks. I'm doing it. It's going to be close, but I'm picking the Bucks. Next up, we have got the Niners at the Panthers. Now, unfortunately, since the Niners have played the Giants, they have seemed to figure out how to get the run game going a little bit better, and they put up 44 points last week. I think the Panthers are still kind of figuring it out. I would love to see the Panthers win this game. I just think it would be fun and exciting, and I like to root for the underdog, but I think the reality is that the Niners are going to win. But prove me wrong. Let's go Panthers. Lastly, we are going to talk about some fantasy players, but first, this podcast is brought to you by Believe Network and FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook is the number one place to make all of your sports bets. Download the app today. Take advantage of their boost, no sweat parlays, and more. Thursday night game, we've got the Bills at Texans. Like we know, the Bills are the favorites. The spread on FanDuel is 5.5 points, and the Bills are minus 270 to win. The Texans are plus 220. And if you're an anytime touchdown score bet like I am, you've got two favorites this week, both on the Bills, of course. Josh Allen is minus 125, James Cook minus 115. And if you want to go for the Texans, go for Woody Marks, who is plus 125 to score an anytime touchdown. So all of those bets are available on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Download today and make sure to always bet responsibly. All right, lastly, I did just talk a little bit of shit about the Cardinals, but if you need a quarterback, go after Jacoby Brissett. He still has been able to move the ball with this offense. He's got some great playmakers on his side of the ball. They've got a decent run game. They've got good tight ends. And Marvin Harrison is not back yet, but I think that the wide receivers have been stepping up a little bit. Even though in the last couple of weeks he's gotten some garbage time touchdowns, as long as you're picking him up in fantasy, garbage time doesn't matter. A touchdown is a touchdown. Get those points. He's available in 35% of leagues, so could be an option. Now, like I said, I'm being a little crazy here, and I'm taking the Saints for the upset. Tyler Shuck is available in only 3% of leagues, according to Yahoo Fantasy, which is interesting. He has gotten better every week. Juwan Johnson has become one of the top receivers for him, who had a touchdown last week in a big game. So I don't know. Tyler Shuck could have the opportunity here to step up and maybe score some decent points for you. Could be an option. Next up, let's move along to running backs. If you're a Giants fan like myself, I know you're very, very familiar with Emmanuel Wilson, who stepped in after Josh Jacobs went down, and it was like he was the starter, was able to run the ball with not a single issue. What a surprise. The Packers, of course, I just got rid of the schedule, but the Packers are taking on the Vikings. The Vikings have a pretty good defense. We all know Brian Flores, but I just think that Wilson could be an option here. It's still TBD on whether or not Josh Jacobs is going to play, but they're probably going to be careful with him, so Wilson could get a lot of reps. Same situation here with the Steelers and the Bucks, because Kenneth Gainwell is going to be the running back too, but Jaylen Warren, who's RB1, is dealing with an injury right now. So I think it could be a good opportunity here to take Kenneth Gainwell. He's available in 33% of leagues because he could be getting quite a few snaps. Next up is Sean Tucker, who's coming off a 3-touchdown week. I picked him up immediately. I'm like, at least I have him on my bench if I want to go ahead and play him. He's available in 27% of leagues. The Bucks are taking on the Rams, who do, like I say, have a pretty good defense at this point. But if you need a good option, could be that guy for you. Moving along to wide receivers. I talked about him last week. Alec Pierce on the Colts. He's available in 49% of leagues. He's gotten a lot of targets, just like Michael Pittman has. Again, the Colts are coming off a bye. They are playing the Chiefs, who, outside of Chris Jones, their defense, the Chiefs as a whole, are not the powerhouse team they used to be. So I don't know. Alec Pierce could be a good option. He's going to be healthy and feeling good after the bye week too. Next up, another player that I know we're all familiar with after last week is wide receiver Christian Watson from the Packers. He's available in 35% of leagues. He had 2 touchdowns against the Giants corners, and the Packers are playing the Vikings this week. So again, they have a decent cornerback core, but I just feel like the Vikings are still struggling. And if the Packers get some sort of momentum and any of the wide receivers, Watson included, catch some of the balls earlier in the game and score early, I think that the Packers could probably run away with this one. Next up, let's talk about tight ends. Juwan Johnson, like I said, he's available in 47% of leagues. He's getting a ton of target share. I think he's going to be a favorite target for Juwan Johnson. And he had 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. He's had over 100 yards on 7 receptions. So I also picked up Juwan Johnson. So I had to get rid of Dalton Kincaid last week, and I've been rotating my tight ends. So I'm starting Juwan Johnson this week. Call me crazy. Like I said, there's always an upset in the way that this season has gone. It has been so bizarre and hard to figure out which teams are actually legit and very good versus which teams are totally up and down. So I don't know. Call me crazy. I'm taking Tyler Shock, Juwan Johnson, and the Saints. So obviously we'll see what happens, but I'm excited to watch some Thursday night football. Tomorrow, like I said, it's going to be a good one. And Friday, I'll be back talking about the Giants versus Lions game. So make sure you subscribe for more Giants news and updates. And thank you guys for listening. Be back on Friday.